Fires that we want to burn don't burn on their own. Hello, I'm Clarence. I'm the preacher, and I'm here to tell you how to start stoking the fires that you want burning. Stoke them so they burn really hot, and we're going to start talking about that right now. What you have to do is you have to understand that a fire needs a lot of fuel. If it's going to burn, it's going to burn hot, then you've got to be dumping the fuel in. And that's an important point. Got to be dumping the fuel in. And you can't sit around and be passive. And a lot of folks are wanting the fire of life, love specifically, to burn hot and vibrant. But they sit around passive, doing nothing, wondering why their fire is not burning when they're not putting any fuel in the fire. It's a crazy thing, but it happens all the time. You have to be proactive. You have to look at the fires you want to burn, and I'm talking about relationships, and say, okay, how can I fuel this relationship? What can I do to put fuel into it and really make this a hot, satisfying, enjoyable relationship? And it is very manageable. You can do it. Now, I know not every relationship's going to work. So you have to understand that there are some people that just don't want a relationship with you. And I don't care what you do with those people, nothing's going to happen. But when you have two people that want a relationship together, whether we're talking a friendship in the church family, in your family, with your children, or with your mate, now you're in a place where you can get proactive. You can really take the bull by the horns, and there are things you can start to do to make that fire burn hot. Now, 2 Timothy 2:15 says that we're to be diligent to show ourselves approved to God. And one of the things you have to do is you have to study the subject. Love and relationships, they take work. They don't just happen automatically. Oh, sure, maybe 1 in a million times it happens automatically. But most of the times relationships are, they're wonderful, but they're just like there's a tension there all the time. Incidentally, that tension is part of the fun, if you'll think about it. And so you have to study how this is going to work, and it just doesn't happen automatically. Maybe if you were raised in a really super great family and you were taught these skills and they come to you second nature, maybe it works automatically. But let's be both honest. Most of us weren't raised in that super great family, and those skills were not taught, and they do not come automatically. It's something we're going to have to learn and delve into. So in Matthew 22:39, when he says, love your neighbor as yourself, that's not automatic. Well, that doesn't just happen. Relationships, as I've already said, take a lot of work. And unfortunately, Hollywood has probably done us a little bit of a disservice, and that a lot of times they present relationships as something where two people just meet and sparks just fly. Of course, to make a good movie, there's always a little tension in there. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy wins girl back. That's the basic formula, and that's what Hollywood does. Now, life doesn't work that way. It makes for an okay movie now and then, but life doesn't work that way. Hollywood is not the place to go get your information on how to have great relationships. You can watch a little TV if you want, watch a little whatever and be entertained. I'm not going to argue with you, but if you start looking at that stuff that all happens in 2 neat little hours, as though that's the secret of life, you're probably going down the wrong path, if you get my drift. So what you do is you really just have to get in there and work, and you have to learn the tools of relationships. I know we want love just to magically flow and flower and just be beautiful everywhere, just automatically. Yeah, that's great. When it happens, enjoy it. Take advantage of that. But most of the time, it doesn't happen that way. So let's talk about man and wife and marriage for a moment. You're going to have to learn the tools. And the Bible gives us some basics. You can go to Ephesians 5:22 through 33. That's a great paragraph about how each ought to be behaving in the marriage relationship. Then you can go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through 7, where he defines love, and you can talk about love specifically related to the marriage relationship, and read that passage from that context. Then I believe it's Romans 12:18, where he says, as much depends on you to live at peace with all people, and now apply that specifically to you and your mate. And you can talk about Matthew 10:16, be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, and apply that specifically in marriage. So the Bible has a lot of stuff in there to say, but it's kind of in a basic, really compact form. And I understand a lot of people have trouble digging that out and understanding how to make the Bible apply to their relationships. Now, there are some great books out there, such as Chapman's 5 Languages of Love. Real easy read, and I highly recommend it. I even teach it sometimes when I get a chance. I think it's a good book. It's 5 easy tools, and once you learn these tools, you can really transform a relationship, not just your mate, but with friends and your children. And things really just start to change when you understand how to communicate love in a way that they can understand love. It's a genius of a book. I really suggest you at least get online and look at the basics, which you can get for free. If I were you, I would go out somewhere and buy the book, maybe even a used bookstore. I pick them up every time I find them in a used bookstore, every one I can, because it's just that good. It really hits the nail on the head. Now, here's the odd thing to me, though. I see people that say, oh, I just wish my marriage was better, my relationship with my kids were better, you know. And that's fine. That's a good desire. And I suggest to them, well, you never really need to pick up this book, or you can get the information pretty much free online, and you really need to study about relationships, and all of a sudden they're backing off like, I ain't got time to read a book. Now I'm thinking, you want a better marriage, you want a better relationships, you want deeper friendships, but you don't have time to read a book that's not like 250 pages long. You don't have time to spend an hour on the internet and just learn the basics of the 5 languages of love. I don't know what you're looking for, but I think what you're looking for in that case is a fairy godmother to come down and sprinkle fairy dust over your life and magically transform everything so you can keep your lazy self in the recliner and not move an inch. That's not going to work. That's not the way life works. It doesn't even work that way in a Hollywood movie. So you have to study to show yourself approved. You have to be diligent and learn these things. And it's really not that hard. But it does take some time, and it does take some practice, because life on the straight and narrow road is pretty tough. Now, as we come to the end of this video, let's change our direction of focus, and let's talk about God for a moment. Matthew 22:37 says we're to love the Lord our God with all of our being. Everything that exists in us is supposed to love God. Well, God's a little bit abstract, right? It's a little hard to see God and love God in the way that we love physical people. I get that. And so we're going to have to learn to stoke that love too, and you're really going to have to learn to make it burn. Now, that's a pretty deep subject. So for a short answer, I'm going to give you Matthew 4 and verse 4, where it says, man doesn't live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. So what we're talking about is learning to get into the Word, because obviously the things that feed us materially are not going to stoke our love with God. We've got to go a completely different direction. That means we've got to get into the Bible. We've got to get into the Word and learn to let the Word feed our soul and our relationship with God. Now, did you catch how I said that? So we're going to have to learn how to let the Word feed our soul and our relationship with God. It is a skill, it is a discipline, it is something you're going to learn, because love is part of the Christian discipline. Now again, that's kind of contrary to the modern concept that love's just supposed to magically happen and butterflies and flowers pop up all over the place. But in the Bible, it is a skill, it is a discipline, it is something you learn from training and feeding yourself the right thing. And our relationship with God and one another, the thing we need to feed ourselves is the Word of God, because we don't live by bread alone. So, put your comments below, share your thoughts and ideas about love, share some of your favorite love moments if you'd like. Be nice, but share whatever you think would help other people grow and develop. Share this video if you think it would help someone else, because I do think that even in our own little community here, you and I can make a difference. Now, we're going to do it one heart at a time, but one heart changed is a step forward. And as always, I hope you have a great day.